Carl here from Games, Brains and a Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and checking out the new Erra album. A band I will admit to having very, very little knowledge of before checking this record out. However, seeing the label they were attached to, UNFD, kind of caught my attention. UNFD tends to lean towards quite mainstream metalcore bands that are coming up as well and stuff like that. So straight away I was intrigued. I was like, okay, got to check out this Erra band for sure, particularly this album coming with quite a big deal, being self-titled as well. They're from Alabama, progressive metalcore, and the self-titled album, is out on March 19th, 2021. Now, what's quite interesting about this album is it's a concept. The band taking us into a journey to the suicide forest in Japan, Koragahara. Probably butchering that, but there's my attempt at it. And it's an album basically where they confront things like depression, anxiety, and desperation, all very relevant subjects in modern times. But with that, they balance in crushing heaviness, soaring melodies, and very, very clever technicalities. Erra are bringing a beast on this album, one that I wouldn't say took me by surprise, but one where I was like, okay, I'm really enjoying this. It's one also that feels surprisingly fresh in the era of metalcore and progressive metal greats. We have a lot of them out there and a lot of them near the top. They may not always be the first name on the lips when discussing these styles. Erra I'm talking about, as you saw when I started this review off. But I think, like me, once you've heard this album, that will probably change. Kicking off with the frenzy, I mean, the drums, oh, they are outstanding here. Snowblood. And upping the metal ferocity and emotive melody with Gun Grave. It's an instantaneous battering from Erra that instantly has you kind of pleading for more, excited to hear what's coming next. This is how you kick off an album. And more is what they have to give, of course, as you introduce a fresher electronica side to their heavyweight and catchy groove with The Visionary. House of Glass then burns with wild guitar technique that gets the blood pumping, where it's followed by Shadow Autonomous soaring with impressive melodic vocals while still having that savage metalcore sound. As well as Electric Twilight, which slips between mellow lows, frenetic highs with such simplicity. Bang, bang, one after the other, each with their own unique taste and unique style that makes you go, oh shit, this band is quite special, while still being rooted in that metalcore vibe, with, of course, those technicalities we've mentioned before. Things that make your ears prick up, that waken up the mind, particularly if you listen to a lot of metalcore. To suggest that Erra consistently set alight the senses is to put it mildly. The better word might be electrify, such as the passion they exude in every single track. At this stage, we're half the album done, and half the album has been considered to be top shelf stuff. Really, really is. And it's Erra just kind of getting started, bringing one of the most intense and heavy tracks forth with Scorpion. I love this one. It's a brutal assault of sharp technical guitars and proper earth-cracking drums that has this cold darkness rooted deeply in it. One for the pit, I think that much is clear. But in the concept as well, this is one that put me in the center of that forest. Silence, nothing around me, it's cold morning, lonely, lost, and all of that. It's brilliant. To balance things though, Lunar Halo then begins with weird effects before kind of bursting into life with catchy and bouncy metal rhythm. I'll bet with Erra's punch on for wild guitar flurries and the scathing vocals in the verses in particular. Whereas Vanish Canvas sees them really take their foot off the gas for what is probably their most mellow offering so far, even though it does still have plenty of bite when they choose to bare their teeth. This is one, not to say to relax to, but one you can kind of calm down a bit for. Then we have the final trio of Eidolon, Remnant, and Memory Fiction, ensuring there's no dip in quality. Erra continuing to spout fiery ferociousness, classy progressive and technical wonders, melodic prettiness, and even more. Come the end, at the point of this album ending, you can't help but wonder how these guys aren't already superstars, and based off this album, it's not impossible to believe that they will be after this. I went from, at the beginning, not knowing who these dudes were, intrigued by the fact they were on the UNFD roster, and coming away going, holy shit, these guys could be absolutely massive. With the backing of that label, this album to drop on people's laps, their style of progressive metalcore, familiar, but with enough different and unique things about them to make them stand out from the pack. I think at least from my perspective, if you already know this band and a big fan, you're probably just sitting there nodding along going, well, yeah, I know this, and finally this guy gets it. I do get it, and I can see these guys being superstars, a future of this particular scene. Particularly, it's so refined, this album, it's well produced, you know, it deals with modern subjects and modern issues that are becoming more and more focused and at the forefront of our scene, the metal scene. But there's a lot of other things in this that kind of makes it not polarizing, that's not the word I'm looking for, but the one that will divide audiences, where it's kind of like, you know, heavy metal fans will be like, oh, I don't like that electronic squeal here, or this bit here and this bit here, whereas others who are into this kind of music are going to champion and say, hey, that's what makes this band particularly unique. But I don't think anyone could argue that it isn't a crushing and heavy release. It's out on March 19th by UNFD. Make sure you check it out and let me know what you think of it in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?